And it is day 2 of our crowdfunder for Marcia Lee Laycock's newest book, Flecks of Gold. This will be book number 16. I asked Marcia earlier how many books she'd written, and she couldn't remember. She had to go count. So at first she said 12, and then she realized, no, it's 16. So, or 15. So this will be book 16 on Marcia's shelf, and maybe on your shelf too. So we've got a crowdfunder going right now, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll show you the cover. We'll show you what's happening behind the scenes. One of the things that you need to know is that at every $1,000 milestone, we've decided to do a draw and give a special gift that's not one of the sponsorship options. So on Monday, we had a birthday party for Marcia because it's her 75th birthday. And we did a draw for everyone who registered for the birthday party. And that was a plate of, what was the plate of, Marcia?
It was of a little girl holding 2 husky puppies. And I think it was called Precious Companions or something like that.
Yes, Precious or Warm or something like that. Yeah. So I wanted Marcia to show that plate, but she already shipped it to the winner. So if you win tonight, you will get your prize very soon. So tonight's prize is a felt. Do you have it right there?
I thought it was the book tonight.
Tonight is a.
Yeah, I think that tonight
is
the book.
Oh, the book. That's right. This is a handmade book that Marcia did. Can you undo the ribbon and show us what it's like inside? So you've got signatures there, right? Yes.
Yeah, it's hand stitched on the outside of the spine, and then on the inside, this one has some decoration on the pages.
Oh, pretty.
So they're just kind of blank pages. There's a little bit of decoration on the bottom.
Where did you get the paper?
It was just a stationery that I've had for a long, long time, and just cut it to size.
How many? So I see you've got different sections of paper. Those are called signatures, right?
That's right. Yeah.
How many signatures?
They're all kind of stitched together. You can see the stitching between them.
That's so beautiful. I learned recently that that's called exposed binding.
Right. Yes, that's right. That's what they call it.
So you get a very unique, if you're the winner tonight, you get a very unique, unique gift. Now,
this is one of my favorite kind of bindings. This is called a Coptic binding. So it's the kind of stitch that is done along the side.
Oh, so there are different kinds of exposed bindings, and this one's Coptic. How many others do you know how to do?
There's many, many kinds. I think I've done about 10 different kinds. But
really?
I have a couple of favorites. Like this is my absolute favorite because it's a nice, kind of, I don't know if you can see on here, but you can see the stitches clearly, and it's quite easy to work with.
Does it look
a little bit more difficult?
Does it look like a knit when it's done?
Some of them, yeah. This almost looks like a crochet to me.
Oh, I see. Yes.
But yes, they're all different, so it's kind of.
So, what are the names of some of the other stitches you do?
Oh goodness, I don't know if I can remember.
I put you on the spot. We didn't talk about this. This wasn't on the agenda.
My mind's kind of gone blank on it, but you can. If you Google it, just Google hand stitching books and it'll come up with all the different options.
So I think we didn't talk about this either, but it feels relevant right now. The next prize, which we're going to talk about at the end in more detail, we'll show it to you at the end, is for a felted landscape that Marcia has made. Marcia is very artistic and loves working with her hands. And then another prize, I can't remember, I think our $3,000 prize is a Ted Harrison print. It's a book plate from a book that he published called Oh Canada. And Marcia, you took an art class from Ted Harrison, right? Just one or
I
more than
did.
one?
It was a year-long class.
Okay.
That I was living in Dawson, and Dawson had gotten a little crazy, which it can do. And I decided to get out of town for a while. So I moved down to Whitehorse, and then I discovered that there was this art course at Yukon College. So I went over to talk to them about it, and Ted actually happened to be right there in the office. So I chatted with him for a minute right then, and he told me what it was going to be like. And I just really liked him immediately.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very warm, wonderful man. And I thought, well, this would be an interesting way to spend the winter. So I registered for the course, and it was a lot of fun. Ted did all kinds of things. He taught us some art history. We did pottery, we did drawing, we did painting, we did some weaving. I did a huge, big wall hanging that was on the wall in the classroom through that year. And then when we were packing up and getting ready to close it down, I didn't know what to do with that wall hanging because I was moving back to Dawson to a very tiny little cabin, and I didn't have the room for it. So I said to Ted, I don't know what I'm going to do with this thing. And he said, oh, good, give it to me. I'll take it home. And that just made me laugh. And I said, oh, Ted, your wife is not going to be happy to see you come in the door with this, because there was not a square inch of wall space in their home that wasn't already covered with a piece of artwork of some kind, some his own and some of his students, and things from all over the world, because he traveled a fair bit when he was younger. So it was that was really wonderful of him. And when he gave it to me, he said, we'll do a swap. He said, I'll do you a painting. And this was before he really started to take off. His paintings became very, very popular just after this. So I said, okay, that would be great, Ted. I'd love to have one of your paintings. So he said he promised me he would. But Ted was kind of an absent-minded professor, and I really didn't put a lot of stock in that. You know, I sort of thought, well, maybe not. But 7 years later,
Mm-hmm.
I was at work. My husband came to pick me up at the post office, and we were heading out of town. And he said, "Oh, by the way, Ted left something for you at the downtown hotel." And I thought, the only thing I can think of that Ted Harrison would leave me is a painting. So I made him turn around right away and go back to the downtown, and I picked it up, and sure enough, it was the painting. And I treasure
Mm-hmm.
it. It's one of my treasures that I just love.
Oh yeah, for sure. So we'll have a Ted Harrison, and we'll show a picture of that at some point so you can see what you're aiming for. Everyone, how do you get your name in a draw for these gifts? Marcia, how do people get their name in a draw?
Well, if you go to the crowdfunder link, which I think is here somewhere, isn't it, Colleen?
I don't know a way to share it, but I will share it below the recording once it's done.
Okay, so you just go to the crowdfunder and click on the what is it, a sponsor? Is it a sponsor?
Yes, we've got different reward levels, and you go and sponsor
Yeah,
something. And so
yeah.
you can,
So
the lowest level is an ebook.
right. So
Yeah.
just have a look at the list there and decide what you'd like to do. And once you have donated, then Colleen will get your name, and she will add your name into the list.
Hey, I just realized there is a chat. So I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Oh, good. Okay, there we go.
Wonderful. Hi, Jen. Oh, yeah, Jen just told me, type it in the chat. Thanks, Jen.
This is our first time doing this on Substack, so it's all
That's
new.
right. That's right. Aw. And Linda, I don't know if Linda's still here, but she was. And Linda, if you're still here, anybody who's still here, give us a heart, or no, I can't tell who's giving hearts. So please say hi in the chat if you're actually live with us right now. Oh, thanks, Jen. Jen is, let me put a plug in for Jen Rogers, who's in the chat right now. She has been my podcasting coach. I haven't started a podcast yet. This is as close as I've gotten doing lives like this and videos. She has recently moved to Substack, and she's coaching people on how to succeed on Substack. So it's great to have you in the room. And Linda Jonkis is here. Hi, Linda. Welcome. So, and anyone, Alzheimer's Witness, I don't know if you're still here, or Dave, but welcome, welcome, welcome. So, okay, Marcia, I wanted to talk about, this is your birthday month, and this is a very special year. It's your 75th birthday. And what gemstone is the 75th birthday?
It's the diamond.
That's right. This is Marcia's diamond birthday. And of course, what do you set a diamond in?
Gold.
Gold, of course, of course. So we talked about this at Marcia's birthday, and I thought it was worth repeating that the price of an ounce of gold right now is, it in US dollars, an ounce of gold is a level teaspoon, and Marcia's holding a teaspoon there.
Yeah. So if you put something in there and then swiped your finger across it to level it, that would be an ounce of gold.
And the price of an ounce of gold, keep holding up the teaspoon for us to make the connection, is 4,707 US dollars plus cents. The Canadian value is $6,467.97. That's a lot of money. Our goal for this project is about 2/3 of the price of an ounce of gold. We're aiming for 4,000 Canadian dollars on this project, and we hit 1,000. We opened the door to this project on Monday morning at about 11:30 my time, and as of today, 2 days later and a few hours, we've got, what is it, 1,055 Canadian. So we've 26% of our goal. How exciting. So that triggered a draw. We thought we might have to wait till Monday. We thought we'd wait $1,000 a week. Okay, what did Jen Rogers is saying? Happy birthday, Yowza, 75. And think of this in the context of David's gifts to the temple. A gazillion smackers. That's great. Yes. Yeah. So gold is very special. And Marcia, you were going to tell a little story about gold, because you lived in Dawson City, and there was a bank in Dawson City. And as far as you know, it was it the only bank in Canada that would take gold?
I'm not sure if it was the only bank in Canada then that was taking gold, but it was a very common thing to, you go to the bank. I used to go there to deposit my check from my work, and I'd be standing beside or behind someone who had, usually it would be in a little coffee tin, those coffee tins that would be about that diameter, that would be full of gold. Sometimes gold nuggets, sometimes flour gold. So they'd just, be hanging on to it. It'd be pretty heavy, but they'd be kind of standing in line waiting to get to the till. And they would go up and, tell the teller that they wanted to weigh their gold. And so they would go off to the side, and there was a gold weighing station off to the side, and they would weigh the gold. And sometimes that gold would be taken and then sent down south to be purified or to be assayed, I guess it is. And then they would sell that and get the money for it. But sometimes they would just want to know how much that particular amount of gold was that they had. So they'd then just take it back home. And I was telling Colleen, I was in town one time sitting with a bunch of friends, and this fellow came in and sat down, and he was one of the old timers in Dawson. I can't remember what his name was now. It seems to me it was Pete, but I'm not sure. But he came and sat down, and another friend of mine was walking by outside, and he saw Pete's truck sitting there and looked in the back of it, and here was probably a 45-gallon drum it would have been black sand mixed with gold. And so, it was just sitting there. So Pat came into the place, and he said, Pete, do you have a tarp? And Pete said, what? What do you mean? And Pat said, well, your drum gold is just kind of sitting out there in your truck. Maybe we should cover it with a tarp.
Mhm.
And he said, yeah, okay. They were always just so blasé about it at that
Mhm.
time. It was quite funny.
Oh, so what would he do with that sand mixed, that gold mixed with sand? What would be the next
He,
thing?
he would pan it. He would,
Oh,
yeah, and to separate the black sand from the gold. And some of those older guys, especially, they're very, very good at doing that, and they could do it quite quickly. And then they would separate it and take out discard the black sand. And
mhm.
some friends of mine one time found a barrel of black sand, and they were so excited, and they thought they were going to be rich, and they got a couple of gold pans and sat there for hours and hours and hours panning this black sand, and there was no gold in it. It had already been well
Oh,
panned.
so they just needed to build a castle
Yeah, yeah.
for all their hopes and dreams. Jen is saying in the chat, you two are so fun together. Jen, you should try a road trip with Marcia. It was actually on a road trip with Marcia. Do you have your memoir handy, Ponderings?
Yeah, it's on the shelf here.
It was on a road trip with Marcia. She told me the story of how her husband proposed to her. Now, there's her memoir. She wrote this a little bit under duress because I forced her to write it. Didn't I?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
I pressured you quite a bit. and that was the
You
story.
can say prodded, Colleen.
Okay, I prodded you. I did pressure. Prodded, pressure. I did. I used as many tactics as I could without driving you away because I really wanted you to do that book. And so Ponderings, if you notice, hold it up one more time. There's an apostrophe in the middle. So the idea is ripples on a pond, but also ponderings, deep thoughts. And Jen, is that the same duress I need to apply for you to do your podcast? Maybe.
You go, Jen. You go.
Okay, so but we're not going to tell that story because people can buy your memoir immediately. You could buy, let's see, I'll give you the Serotonin link for it in a moment when I get Marcia talking again. Okay, so you've told us about gold. We've talked about that. Oh, and you need to know this book, this new book is Flecks of Gold. It's a collection of Yukon stories. So if you want some of Marcia's Yukon stories right now, Ponderings is one book that you could buy. So, because that kind of, that's not everything you could say about the Yukon, but it's a strong thread. That's where you met your husband. That's where he proposed to you. You got married. You went on a crazy honeymoon in California. You drove in crazy weather conditions many times. I don't know how many of those come up in Ponderings, but and that's where you really started leaning into your writing. Well, no, actually, you had gone to university, right? And took a journalism degree, but
That's where
journalism
I wrote my first book, though, in Dawson.
in Dawson, yes, yeah. So, but that one didn't get published, did it?
No, it's never been published. It's a very good thing that it's never been
published. They often say you shouldn't publish your first book.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Substack Angle, are you posting partial stories and articles on your Substack and then leading people to buy the book? Oh, for sure. Marcia did that with Ponderings, and we're just getting started with Flecks of Gold, which I don't want to jinx anything, but I'll mention Marcia was calling it Nuggets of Gold. But Sheila Webster is our friend who actually had the idea for this book. And she presented it to Marcia and said, I think we need to put together a collection of your stories, some previously published and some new, and some fiction and some nonfiction. And are there going to be some poems as well?
Yeah, I think so. 2 or 3
Okay.
poems.
So, and it's really a cornerstone book, because Sheila looked at Marcia's 15 books and said, this is so eclectic. There's no one book that ties everything together. And she had the vision that there. Oh, Anna Char.
Oh, hi, Anna.
Oh,
Great to see
you
you. I have you here.
know.
Anna's
Nice.
from Hawaii.
Hi, Anna. Welcome. Yeah. So, sorry, the chat is a little bit derailing sometimes, but it's delightful. Okay, so Flecks of Gold, then how many different genres have you published in?
That's a good question. I've published nonfiction devotional books. I've published 2 adult fiction books, 4 middle grade fantasy books, and a children's picture book.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. So,
And the memoir.
And your memoir. That's right. So how many was that? That was like 5 or 6 different genres.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a lot. And poetry. You've also, have you published any poetry in your books?
A little bit here and there. Not all that much, though. I would like to do a full book of poetry.
Of course you would. You need to do a book of poetry.
Why not?
Have you written any songs?
I attempted to do that once, but I really am not very musical at all.
Yeah.
So they were not good songs.
And no horror to give Stephen King a run for his money?
No, not
into that. No. So, okay, but I think you've got enough genres going on right now.
I think so.
Yeah. But so Flecks of Gold is pulling a lot of things together, and kind of Sheila's vision was a cornerstone project. So here we are. We're doing it. Okay, Marcia, you brought something to read to us.
Yes, I did. And this is kind of appropriately called Birthday Story. This is a devotional that I wrote many years ago, and it was published in my first devotional book, which is called Spur of the Moment. And the scripture we're dealing with here is Isaiah 43, verses 1 to 3. They told us it would not happen. We weren't surprised. We had been together for more than 5 years without having a child. The test confirmed what we already knew. I thought I was prepared to hear the test results, but the finality of the doctor's words left me with a cold emptiness. Having a child was the deepest desire of my heart, but I tried to keep that hidden. When my friends talked about their kids, I oohed and awed with the rest. I cuddled and tickled their babies, then handed them back with a smile. Each time, the longing for one of my own increased. At the same time, our lives were turned upside down. My husband's best friend committed suicide. Then his partner did the same to fulfill the suicide pact no one knew about. Then a friend's husband drowned in a canoeing accident, and a neighbor's 2-year-old child disappeared. The reality of death stared us in the face over and over again. Spence began asking the deep questions of life, questions about God. Where was his friend Chuck? Where was that little baby boy? I had gone through that struggle years before and had concluded if there was a God, which I thought was unlikely, he obviously wanted nothing to do with me, so I wanted nothing to do with him. When Spence began his spiritual journey, I stood back and watched until he challenged me to answer those deep questions for myself. I resisted, but once the questions were out in the open, I could not ignore them. We were both being drawn to a point of decision. I was on the road to Mayo, Yukon, when I made the step that was to change my life. On my way to visit a friend, I was determined not to think about God or religion or any of the baffling questions my husband kept bringing up. But no matter what I tried, my mind would not rest. The question of God's existence and what he had to do with me would not go away. In desperation, I pulled my vehicle into a lookout point above the Stewart River. The beautiful river valley stretched out below, but I barely saw it. My mind in a whirl, I challenged God to do something to prove he was there. Then I realized how foolish I was, talking to a God that I did not believe existed. At that point, something happened which I have never been able to adequately describe. I heard laughter, like a grandfather chuckling in a way, and the words, "Yes, but I love you anyway." None of this was audible, yet it was shockingly real. I thought I was going insane. All the turmoil had finally pushed me over the edge, and now I was hearing voices. I stomped on the gas pedal of my truck, turned the radio up as loud as it would go, and fled down the road. My visit with my friend turned out to be more discussion of spiritual things, but by the time I returned home, I was determined not to pursue Christianity. Besides, I had something else on my mind. I'd been suffering from a rather strange flu, the kind that happens every morning, but is gone by noon. My friend said, "Sounds like morning sickness to me." But of course, that wasn't possible. The experts had told us so. Soon after, the pastor Spence was meeting with gave me some books about the claims of Christianity, and they began to make sense to me. But my heart was still cold and resistant to the idea of a personal God. I studiously refused to even think about what had happened on the Stewart River, overlooking that river valley. Then one morning, I woke up with the realization that I had to get to the washroom fast. It was about the seventh day of that strange flu. As I repeated the morning's routine of the past few days, the realization that I was, in fact, pregnant flooded over me like a warm rain. With it came a searing thunderbolt of truth. This was the something I had asked God to do. The child growing in my womb was his answer, the proof of his love. He gave me the desire of my heart on November 30th, 1982. That was just the beginning. He gave me two more after that. When the Lord fixes something, he fixes it very well. God has proven himself over and over and over again in my life. He'll do it in yours too, if you invite him in.
So good. Thank you, Marcia. I think I was muted. Oh, I love that story. I've heard it before. Like so many of your stories, I could just hear over and over again. I think Linda said that she's read your memoir 3 times already, and she wants to read it more and more. So it's a beautiful, like it's a good Ponderings is a good story on its own as a story, but for people who want to be writers or are writers, and it's such an encouraging and instructive book. I love it. Well, why don't we move to our draw for the book? Will you hold up the book again?
Sure.
And I will. Okay, so this is a handmade book that Marcia herself made, and that's Coptic stitching on the spine. And the paper inside is stationery with tulips on it. So this is just beautiful, beautiful. What a treasure. And I am going to share my screen because we've got this fancy wheel of names. And we over here, I didn't put full names, although you can see, if you go to the campaign, you can see in the activity feed, if people have given their full name, you can see who they are. Some people have donated anonymously. We know on the back end who you are So we've put some initials here, but we're not going to reveal who you are. Okay, without further ado, let's spin it. I don't know if you can hear that little sound. It could. Jody B. Jody B gets the handmade book. Yay! Okay, so how do I stop sharing that? Okay. First time on Substack. So Jody B, you get that book, and now we need to show people the next prize. So our next milestone is $2,000, and I'll just share my screen to give you a little preview of the campaign itself. Is this what I want? No, not that. Window. There we go. So this is the campaign page, and you can see we've raised $1,055. So we've got 945 Canadian dollars to go, and there are a number of reward levels. There's an early bird ebook, and there's a first edition of the book. There's a 2-book bundle. Minus 60. We called it that because this gray this is a poster, a picture of a rock, and it's one of Marcia's pictures from Dawson. Is this at the Dome?
No, that's actually up the Dempster Highway, just outside of Dawson.
Okay. And on this poster, we've put her poem, or is it the whole poem or part of it?
It's the whole
minus 60 Dawson. Minus 60. Can you imagine? She talks in the poem about chopping wood in minus 60 weather conditions. Like, wow. And then at the Yukon Memories level, you'll get everything above, plus 2 pieces of art from Northern artists, Ted Harrison, a card, and Robbie Craig, a neck warmer called Starry Night. So we had trouble deciding which. Pardon?
Is it called
Northern
Starry Night?
I'll have to go fix that. Okay. And then, and everybody who sponsors will get a link to Marcia's party. I said secret link. It's kind of not so secret, but anyway. And then the last one is, if you want to get in a room like this with Marcia and up to 10 of your friends, then the fireside chat is for you. You get everything in the previous levels, plus an hour with Marcia, chatting about this, asking her questions, and hearing more stories. So how do you enter? You enter by coming and sponsoring one of these levels. And then you can read more about Marcia and the project. And we have some stretch goals. So the first stretch goal is these draws. And it's not really a stretch because our goal is $4,000, but you're helping us get there. And then we'd love to do an audiobook of Flecks of Gold. And then if we can get there, we'd love to republish Marcia's book, Spur of the Moment, and rename it Every Common Bush, which is inspired by an Elizabeth Barrett Browning poem. So that's just a quick tour of the campaign. And I'll put the link again in the chat in case you want to. Oh, the link is kind of at the bottom. We'll do it again. So yeah, Marcia, anything else you want to say as we go?
No, I think that's about it. This
has been fun. Thanks to everybody. What's that?
I said it was lovely to chat with you as always.
I know. So yes, I love chatting with you, and it's fun to have people in the room with us, even though in the virtual room. So we'll do this again at our next $2,000 milestone, or next $1,000 milestone, which is 2,000. Okay. Oh, did you show the felt?
Not yet.
You did not show it. Okay. Oh, your camera is quite pixelated, so
Yeah, it's kind of blurry, isn't it?
it gives it extra texture.
Yeah. But this is a portion of the Yukon River just where the Klondike enters the Yukon. And there's a little bit of
Mm.
fireweed down here, and it's just.
Can you tilt it a little bit so we can see some of the texture? Like tilt it on its side a little bit, and then like flat, almost.
Oh,
tilt it to like a 45-degree angle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there we can see how it's raised and swirled.
Yeah.
That's really neat.
I don't. If any of you have done felting, you'll know what this is all about. But it's. I purchased a little felting done by a friend of mine a few years ago at a retreat, and I just loved it. And I said to myself right then, I want to learn how to do this, and never had the opportunity until just a little while ago. I saw a course advertised on Facebook and jumped on it right away. So I think I've done about 5 of them now. It's my new hobby. I'm really enjoying doing them.
Okay, so here's a topic for another day or for another post. I want to know how many different forms of art you have dabbled in and how many you've not just dabbled in, but done something with. So, but you're not answering that question today. So we're leaving people with an aspiration to get your name in for the next draw and with a question: how many different art forms has Marcia learned and how many has she mastered? Would you say there's any that you've mastered?
I don't know. I think dabbled is a good word.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll see you next time, and who knows when that next milestone will be. But it'll be fun. Okay. Talk to you later. Thanks everybody for coming. How do I get out of here, Jen?
Thank you, everyone.
I see the end button.
Supporting me. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thanks, Marcia. Talk to you later. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.